The Disney Castle, a shining symbol of happiness and corporate greed that has preceded so many of our favourite childhood films. The many variations of this must have been played billions of times across the globe. But have you ever wondered where it all began? And when did it go from this to this? Well, if you have, great, because today we'll be going through all the iterations of Disney's cinematic logos. But to talk about the origins of Disney's logo, we must first talk about a time before they had a logo at all. Walt Disney's first feature film, 1937's Snow White, does not start with any sort of logo. Instead, it has this plain text studio credit. In fact, every film following this for a long time would use its own unique plain text credit. What's weird is that a text logo similar to what's used now is in use at this point, just not in the movies. But there wasn't a lot of consistency in the logo at the time, and the version that we have now wasn't adopted company-wide until much later. In 1955, the first Disney park opens in Anaheim and features the iconic Sleeping Beauty castle, which means, for anyone who was wondering, the real castle did indeed come before the logo from the movies. In fact, the Sleeping Beauty castle opened before Sleeping Beauty, which was released 4 years later. We didn't get a logo based on the castle for 30 years until the 1985 film Return to Oz.
This is the Oz you haven't seen before.
Although the version of When You Wish Upon a Star that accompanies most of the future appearances of this logo is not present. Actually, I couldn't find who specifically was involved in the creation of this logo. I know the music, which was introduced in The Black Cauldron, was composed by John Debney, but I don't know who animated it. This logo gets a lot of use over the next 20 years, with some slight variations along the way, but it was occasionally remitted in favour of a plain text logo like this one or this one, for the more grown-up movies, because you couldn't play this ahead of The Rocketeer. Everybody would think it was for babies and walk out. 10 years later, Disney distributes the first feature film by a new studio called Pixar, who they would later buy for $7.5 billion. For this, Toy Story, the film is Toy Story by the way,
There seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Pixar created a new Disney logo of their own to be played ahead of only Pixar films. This logo is essentially a 3D render of the traditional 2D version, but they opt for a grey castle with a blue roof, although if you put their logo over the top of the Sleeping Beauty castle, you can see that they pretty closely followed the silhouette. This logo was accompanied by new music by Randy Newman, which was loosely based on John Denby's Wish Upon a Star. Pixar used this logo until 2007, but its last use in Ratatouille does lack the Newman music. In 2008, they switched to the standard Disney intro at the time, which we haven't seen yet in this video, but if you're my age, you know what I'm talking about. This is a far more extravagant version of the Disney logo, if we can even still call this a logo. It was introduced in 2006 with Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest. The fact that this was introduced in the second Pirates film made me wonder what the original Pirates film had. I assumed it was one of those plain text logos, but the Curse of the Black Pearl actually had this really cool fiery orange logo that I nearly missed in my research. It was used ahead of a few films in the early noughties, starting with Dinosaur in 2000. I guess this was the more grown-up version of the logo at the time, to stop people walking out from the grown-up movies like Dinosaur. I'm not kidding, by the way. That movie's pretty dark.
If you ever interfere again, I'll kill you.
Anyway, back to the 2006 logo. Did you know that this one wasn't even made by Disney? Okay, so it was designed by Disney, specifically Disney animation director Mike Gabriel and producer Baker Bloodworth, incredible name, but the animation for the logo was actually done by Weta FX. This does make sense, as it's very detailed, and Disney's in-house animation team probably couldn't have accomplished this at the time, plus they were too busy making their Madagascar ripoff.
Stop laughing at us, you solar twit!
This version of the castle is an amalgamation of the Sleeping Beauty castle and Walt Disney World's Cinderella castle. The animation also features a bunch of references to classic Disney movies, and the flag on top of the castle displays the Disney family crest, which is a nice touch. There were so many unique versions of this logo used for different high-profile movies, including one for Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, which is odd because the original debuted in a Pirates movie, but I guess now Pirates is too good for the standard logo. They also used this special one for John Carter, which is hilarious, because it just looks like they turned the warmth all the way up and called it a day. Like, does this look like Mars? It still has grass. And for 2016's Jungle Book, they took the opportunity when making their live-action, photoreal, 3D animated version of the story to make a 2D version of the logo. This is the only film to use this new 2D one, even though it's pretty cool, and not really specific to Jungle Book, so I would have liked to have seen it again. There is a bunch of these special logos, so if there's one that you like that I haven't mentioned, you should comment it down below. You'll notice that some of these just say Disney instead of Walt Disney Pictures. This change was made for some home releases in 2007, and then for the theatrical releases in 2011. Apparently this was to make the logo easier to see on your phones, which according to Ted Sarandos is the best way to watch movies, so it is pretty forward thinking for 2007, if true. In 2022, at D23, Disney unveiled their newest logo, which would reach cinemas in 2023 in time for Disney 100, which was Disney's 100th anniversary. A lot of numbers there. As such, the original variant includes a 100 after the Disney logo, and some other flourishes that were removed for some Disney Plus releases and in 2024 for theatrical releases too. This is finally another logo animated by Disney, or at least ILM, who Disney acquired along with Lucasfilm back in 2012, so it still counts. It also features a new orchestral version of the Wish Upon a Star theme created by Christoph Beck. Just like the last one, this new logo contains a bunch of Easter eggs, but for some reason the Tinkerbell thing, the Arc of Light, it goes from left to right now. I say for some reason, I guess it's for parity with the Disney Plus logo, because that goes the same way, but it still catches me off guard every time I see it. Personally, I'll always have a soft spot for the 2006 version, but that is mostly just a result of when I was born, let's be honest. I'm sure kids born nowish will have a soft spot for the new one, and I know plenty of people have an affinity for the old one, and wish it was never replaced. Okay, so that is all the variants, or most of the variants, of the castle logo that have been in theatres over the years. If I didn't talk about a special variant that you like, or you're mad at something I said, or you have anything else to say, feel free to let me know in the comments. This is the first video on my channel, so if you like this video, subscribe. In fact, if you didn't like this video, subscribe too, and like, and comment, and turn on notifications. It would help me out if you did. Anyway, thank you for watching. Bye.